I heard that vision boards help with manifestation. Well, if homeownership is your goal, let's talk about the steps that you need to take and how to plan ahead for that, because that's really honestly how a dream becomes a reality. So let's talk. Now, this is going to seem a little bit backwards than you've always known, especially as a buyer, but your first step should truly be meeting with your local specialist, meeting with a real estate agent. If you're in St. Johns County, you meet with me. But really going through what it looks like, because I'm going to tell you on here a step-by-step process, but everyone is different and everyone's situation is different. And so having an expert in that area and asking them, how do I get here, is super important. It's kind of like having a personal trainer with helping you buy a home. But I want to help you accomplish that goal, whether you're ready now, tomorrow, in 2 weeks, in 2 months, in 2 years. My goal is to help strategize and be a part of that finish line, because it is super exciting to be a part of buyers' lives, whether they close in 2 weeks. I've had buyers that have closed in 3 weeks. But let's talk about those steps on how we can make it possible, and then we'll talk more about the consultation. I see you. I see you avoiding this question. You're avoiding your credit score. I see it. See, you're caught. But why are credit scores actually important when it comes to the home buying process? Well, honestly, credit scores affect not only your interest rate, your affordability. It affects how much you can actually get for a loan. So your buying power is heavily impacted by your credit score. So helping your credit score get higher and increase is super important, especially during this process. But no matter if you have a 500 credit score or a 700 credit score, you could still qualify for a loan, but your buying power is impacted by that. But let's go into that a little bit and what numbers actually look like for each different loan and what the average credit score actually is. So how can we actually increase our credit score? Well, again, this is a case-by-case basis depending on what your debt is, or if you just don't have any credit to begin with. Because I know a lot of my brides and grooms are in that situation. Well, there's a couple different tactics you can take. One of them is paying off your debt if you have any debt. That's student loans, that's credit card debt, because you keep swiping or buying on Amazon. But paying down your debt is a huge benefit. And then also not signing up for more credit cards. Now, this does depend on your situation, because if you have no credit, one thing that skyrocketed my husband's credit and also helped me as well when we were looking at buying a house is we applied for Discover card, which again, this is not at all given to Discover. But we applied for a Discover card to have a cash allowance so that we would pay it off at the end of the month. We would literally purchase gas, pay it off, purchase gas, pay it off. Everything went through our cards, then we paid it off through our bank account. This really helped skyrocket our interest rate where we didn't think it was possible to grow as fast as it did, and it did. And of course, this last one should be completely honest. Pay your bills on time. Honestly, pay them at the end of the month. If you have a credit card, pay it at the end of the month and pay it on time. The easiest thing to do is honestly schedule it. Already have it scheduled so it already comes out. I know not everyone's in the same situation where they can do that, but I'm telling you, it will be a huge relief. And honestly, don't spend over what you can afford. Thankfully, Christmas is behind us and tax season is coming right for us, so we will finally have some savings. Put it in the savings so that you guys protect yourself. And mentioning savings, this is a good time to start saving for your down payment. And we filtered right into the next one, down payment. So saving for a down payment, what exactly does that look like? A lot of people have it very confused that you need to have 20% down. That's not true. You don't need 20% down. Sometimes you need 0% down. But it really depends on the loan type that you qualify for, which again is why you always should meet with your real estate agent, because they're going to connect you with an amazing lender that will be able to help you to see which loan type is perfect for you. Because there's down payment assistance programs, but there's also other loans you may not know about. My husband and I did a USDA loan, which is a rural loan used outside of the city where we could purchase for 0 down. Of course, yes, that does go onto our mortgage, so it's like 100 and something percent mortgage. But it really helped us because we had no money. I was a server, wasn't making anything. Honestly, it's wild to think about how little we did not make. So let's talk about some of those loans and what down payments actually look like for them. So first is a VA loan, which is for our military families. First, thank you so much for everything that you do for our country continuously. If you are active duty, I appreciate everything you're doing. And if you're the family, I appreciate your patience and your sacrifices that you guys get every single day. So VA loans are able to give 0% down to those who honestly should be probably making more money, but we are able to provide them a housing service where we can give them 0% down. Now, FHA loan. FHA loan is about 3.5% down. Let me put this into a numbers perspective. So if you buy a home for about $400,000 and you put 3.5% down, you're looking at your down payment being $14,000. So this is typically the price range most of my first-time home buyers are in right now, which is crazy to think about. But can't do anything. If you guys watch my housing market video on where prices are going with homes, they're just continuing to appreciate, which is a benefit to home ownership. Good job, we all said it together. Also, a fun fact about an FHA loan. Did you know that you could use the FHA loan every 2 years as long as it is your primary residence? So say you already bought your first home and you're going to buy your second home. Sell that home of your primary residence, get another one, and still qualify for FHA as long as it's been over 2 years. Fun fact, huh? Now let's talk about conventional loan. There's a couple different options, and of course, it's the lender by lender basis. So there are options of 5% down, there's options of 7% down, and options of 10% down. Now, with all of these loans, if you are putting under 20% down, one thing to notate is you would be paying PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. It's basically protecting the money that they're loaning you with an extra interest until you pay up a certain amount. So keep that in mind as well. When we go through the buyer's consultation and we sit down one-on-one, I have that within your estimates. So when we're talking about what price range you can afford, what down payment you're going to be doing, I actually break down exactly what that looks like and what you'd have to bring to the closing table, not only down payment, but also closing costs and every other fee that goes along with the home buying process. So quickly for new construction. Now, it's not that different when it comes to regards of what loan you can do. It just is honestly the binder that they require. So some builders ask for a 5% binder, 7% binder, 10%. Some ask for 20%, but it's based on the builder that you choose and the stage that the builder is at. So if you're asking for a spec home, a ready now home, one that they have all the incentives on and will be ready in 30 days, typically they're asking for about 5 to 10% down. And this does go, of course, towards your house purchase. Now, the other side of it, if you're wanting to build from scratch, some builders have you pay per stage. So depending on what builder you choose and what timeline you choose differentiates how much you have to eventually put down. Buyers always forget this step, but you have closing costs you need to pay for, which is the transaction of the actual sale of the home. So this includes title insurance, appraisal fees, lending fees, all that good stuff put in towards the end. It's kind of like if you went on a cruise and it's the service fee at the end. So you go on the cruise, but you also have the service fee. And another fee that now is possible with buyers is the buyer broker agreement that you have for your buyer's agent compensation. So do keep that in mind. I'm very transparent. We run through those numbers together. I tell you exactly what closing costs will be, what your cash to close it, what you need to pay. So you have nothing to worry about. You'll have the peace of mind. And I have been doing this for a long time. And I have yet to have a buyer have to actually pay for me because I always negotiate it in with the seller or with the builder. So just keep that in mind. Now, why a lot of first-time homebuyers end up going new construction is because they have incentives, such as closing cost assistance and giving them $10,000, $12,000, $15,000, $20,000 towards their closing costs, which relieves more stress off the buyer. And did I also mention that new construction can even offer them lower rates? I'm not kidding you. There are some builders right now, 2025, offering 4.99 interest rates fixed. That means for the life of the loan. They just have great incentives that they're able to have happened with their lenders instead of the items you can find with a local lender or local bank. So new construction is definitely one of the ways that you should look into possibly purchasing a home because it may make your affordability and buying power higher than you think. Now, I don't know if you caught this before, but I talked a little bit about it. When I was talking about the new construction, I was talking about something called a binder. So a binder, escrow, deposit, whatever you want to call it, goes towards the purchase price of your home. Now, new construction typically requires it, and you also have to do it for resale as well, just not as much money as new construction wants. But with resale, typically it's 1 to 2% of the purchase price. And again, this does go towards what you're paying for the home. So this isn't a gift to the seller saying, please have me. But what it is it's an engagement ring. It's an engagement ring to the property, which is a promise to the seller saying, hey, I love your house. I want to buy it. Won't you marry me? So that's exactly what it is. But guess what? I have 3 different ways to protect it for you. Because obviously you don't want to just give it to the sellers and just say, okay, well, this house isn't for me. 3 ways I can protect that for you. One of the ways is your inspection period. In the state of Florida, you have 15 days with your inspection period where I can protect this little puppy, where if anything comes up that may not pass the loan or you may not come to an agreement with the sellers, then I'm able to protect your engagement ring and ask for it back. And we move on and keep searching for homes. Or the seller agrees and we fix all the items and we're good to go. The second way is your appraisal period. So during this appraisal period is when the appraiser comes out, prices out the home. If it comes in below or above, you're protected during this time. So say that it comes in above. One, seller doesn't need to know. We're good. You just bought an equity. We good to go. But if it comes in below, we could actually go back to the seller and say, hey, are you willing to come down to the appraisal price? Because of course the lender is not going to pay more than the home is actually worth. There's 2 options there. The seller could say, okay, no problem. Works out for you, works out the seller. Let's go, let's sell. Now, let's say that the seller doesn't want to drop to that price and they're like, no, my house is worth that. I'm going to do it. Wrong appraiser, and they rebuttal it. Well, you could also get another appraiser, say it still comes in and they're just being stubborn and they want their price. Guess what? Your engagement ring is yours again. And then the other part to protect it is your loan contingency period. This is, say we get to almost the closing table, 2 weeks before closing, we find out you can't afford the loan. Something happened, shit hit the fan, and it just isn't able to be possible right now. For that home, interest rates might have spiked, everything like that. Thankfully, your binder's protected. Now, I will be completely honest. With new construction, listen very carefully. With new construction, it is so hard to protect your binder because the builder has it. That is the risk of new construction. So you can lose your binder. I've seen people, especially during the crazy COVID days, that have lost thousands of dollars. I have somehow been able to get a couple binders back, but please do not test me on that because their contracts change, their rules change, and the way that they handle the binder situation changes. So very crucial to know that, especially with new construction, binders are pretty much locked in. So you have to be willing, 1, to love the home. I haven't had too many people back out of the binder, honestly. New construction is a great option, but it's important to know that risk you may be putting on your binder. So let's say you save up all this money. Looks like your vision board is starting to come true because you're manifesting it. Well, the next step is honestly to get pre-approved and to see how much you can honestly afford. This regards to your timeline though, because I do have buyers who are like, we're not ready, Demi. It's January. And they're like, we're not ready until December of next year. I'm like, perfect. I think that you should go ahead, get a soft pull on your credit to see how much you could actually afford. So this will then help you to see where exactly you're at, because you guys will eventually hear my story of what happened between me and my husband. And that sounds really bad. But what happened when we were trying to buy a home and we were heartbroken. And so it's so important to make sure we had someone on our side strategizing with us and helping us get to the finish line. Was it a year later? Absolutely. But we had those people that we could count on that would actually point us in the right direction to make sure that we were doing the right things to increase our credit, because there are things that you can do that absolutely mean nothing. So make sure that you strategize, and getting pre-approved really does help because they could really do an intricate look on what you need, or you may be able to buy a house that you didn't even know you could afford. We just did that. When we were looking to buy, we were going to wait until December of 2024. We went ahead and pulled our credit in June. We're like, why not? Shits and giggles. Let's pull our credit. We found out we could qualify. We were good. We had the down payment money. We could do everything. And we knew interest rates were high. Oh my gosh, I'm still nauseous. 7.2 right here. But because interest rates were high, obviously home prices were starting to come down because it's a teeter-totter system. We were able to get $50,000 off of the asking price, get our house for a killer price. Do I still have a high interest rate? Absolutely. But will I have a killer interest rate when it all drops in a house that was way below appraised value? Yes. So it typically depends on what you have going on, what your goals are, and what situation that you are in financially. But the most important one, we'll go back to the first, 2 minutes of this video about talking about your goals, is really, let's sit down together. Let's see what your goals are, what's actually possible, how much money you need to save, what the numbers actually look like, because there's so many questions and there's so much misinformation out there. So let's have a one-on-one coffee date. You're more than welcome to DM me, text me, call me, anything you need. I am here. I am your go-to cheerleader to make sure that your goals happen. So if you're looking for more content on St. Johns County, what it's like living here, and honestly another reason to live here, like and subscribe. Did you subscribe? Reminder is this. Get my engagement ring.